This is the Women's Hockey Life Podcast.
Welcome to the Women's Hockey Life Podcast, empowering women and girls in hockey. We're going to be talking in depth about what it really takes to be unstoppable on the ice and in life. Okay, we're going to be looking at basically the mindset of the most successful women as they mastered the game and went on to even bigger successes in life because they mastered it. Right? This podcast is brought to you by our friends over at the Hockey News and Sports Illustrated. You can go to thn.com/deal to subscribe to their magazine today. She's originally from California, but played her collegiate hockey at Northeastern University in Boston. She won 2 Beanpot championships while at NU. She was on the all-academic team. She was elected the president of SAAC, which is the Student Athlete Advisory Committee. And before all this, she spent her last 2 years of high school at the North American Hockey Academy, which is a part of the Junior Women's Hockey League. She was drafted in the NWHL, then the CWHL, and she's currently a member of the PWHPA. She's done it all. Chelsey Goldberg, welcome to the show. How are you?
And it's honestly so good to see you. I can't remember the last time we actually saw each other in person. I mean, we're in a pandemic now, but like, how did we meet even? I was thinking about this the other day and I'm like, it's been a long time.
I think it was when you were playing at NU and I was coaching at UConn.
At UConn, because of Lexi, my best friend. Like, I think
Lexi, I coached Lexi at UConn. You guys are best friends in California, and I met you then and there, and we've kind of kept in touch throughout the years.
Yeah, connections, everything.
That's usually how it goes with me and people I interact with. I'm like, once I meet you, we may not talk all the time, but you know what, our paths are going to cross, and I'm so grateful for you to be here. And then I'm like, share all the nuggets you have in your story and everything else. And it's a cool one. It's a great one. And I want to dive right into it. So let our viewers know who don't know who you are. Like, where'd you grow up? How'd you get involved in hockey? How did it all start?
Yeah. So my name is Chelsey Goldberg. I am born and raised in Southern California. Grew up playing all the traditional California sports. I swam, played lacrosse, played soccer, mostly with the boys because I have a twin brother. So we had a ton of, I had a ton of guy friends just based off of growing up with my twin. And so we played all those main sports that you think of. Hockey was never in the question, didn't really know much about hockey. Our best friends got rollerblades one year. And so my brother and I looked at our parents and were like, if they can get rollerblades, why can't we, you know? And so we got some rollerblades and we started playing roller hockey for fun. It was all for fun. It was like a new sport for us with our friends, just fun with friends. And then the California heat, it was like 118 degrees outside playing. And that's just dangerous at that point, you know? So our parents are like, all right, like maybe we can switch to ice and see like where you guys go from here, right? Just still having fun. We switched over to ice hockey. Played in-house, I think it was called. And our coaches at the time in-house, they saw my brother and I play and they were like, holy smokes, like you guys should try to take this somewhere. You just have natural talent. And like I said, at that point, we were still just playing for fun with our friends. My brother was a really good lacrosse player. I was a good lacrosse player. I love swimming. My mom was a swimmer in college. So it was just like, hockey still was never part of the equation. But once we kind of realized that we actually had the potential to take it to the next level, we had to have those serious conversations with our parents and say, hey, like, let's maybe talk about college and college athletics and whatnot. And so our coaches growing up, I played with the boys growing up. We then switched over to club hockey, and I played boys hockey until probably at the 16U level. The guys just started getting bigger, faster, stronger, and I kind of peaked like 5'4", 5'5" on a good day, I would say. But I got my first gnarly concussion and I was like, I'm out. Like it's just not worth it. And especially if I wanted to pursue college hockey, I had to switch over to girls at some point to even get seen. Right. But at that point, it's like I still didn't know about the college process at all. Luckily, my mentor growing up, Jessica Kazumi, who you probably know, she trained and played at the same rink in California that I grew up playing at with the boys. And I think I don't even remember how her and I met, but I think she was maybe giving some private lessons on the other sheet of ice at the time. And my mom was like, oh, another female hockey player. And then we just connected, right? The hockey world. And from then on, she was on the USA national team at that point, and she saw my potential and she was like, I'm going to get you to that level. And so like when she kind of put that into my mind, I was all in. I was like, what can I do to better myself, be a better player, teammate, daughter, friend, And so Jess, I give a lot of credit to. She kind of took me under her wing and I followed her nutrition plan because she played at UMD as well. So I worked out with her. I skated with her all the time. I followed her nutrition plan, and she's kind of the one that helped me learn about the college process. Because again, my brother and I had no idea how to even do it, especially being from Southern California. Like there are really no resources out there. So having a mentor like that, I think honestly made me get to that next level. So I can't thank her enough. And we've continued to stay in touch. She's obviously had a very successful career as well, but it's important having a mentor like that, being from a state that doesn't get much attention. But yeah, so from there, switched over to girls, played in Vermont in high school at North American Hockey Academy, like you touched on. And that is what actually got me to Northeastern. My coaches did a really good job with me and committed to Northeastern and played 4 years there. And now I'm playing pro still. So it's been a wild ride. There's a lot in the mix that I can talk about, but
yeah,
I wouldn't change a thing. Yeah.
We're totally going to go there because I know you broke, was it both fibulas back-to-back years?
Both fibulas.
Was this at the North American Hockey Academy or was this before?
Yeah. So this is kind of where my journey like just is so unlike, I would say, any other I guess athlete, right? Like I broke both my legs at North American Hockey Academy. And oh wait, can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you. You're
okay, cool.
Came up, so it was all good. It was you playing hockey, so that was like a good segue.
Yeah.
You're good.
So at North American Hockey Academy, I had committed to Northeastern, but like sophomore summer, I would say. I went to play at a summer tournament. It was the Naha Showcase, and from there, I actually had committed to Northeastern. So I was in a good spot, and obviously the college recruiting process is a completely different topic. But long story short, my junior year at Naha, I was on a breakaway, got tripped, feet first in the boards, just completely broke my right fibula. I think was the first one. That was the first like main adversity that I probably experienced up until that point in my life. But I was like, you know what? Like, it's a broken leg. Like, I'm strong. I'll get back into it. 6 months later, I was cleared to play. Went back to Naha for my senior year and ended up breaking my second fibula. So kind of ironic that it was the same bone, but my team doctor was like, I was bow-legged as a child. So he was like, genetically speaking, I think that's kind of what attributed to breaking both your fibulas. And so yeah, very interesting, but ended up breaking my left fibula in 4 different places. So it was a spiral break, and that one was so gnarly that I actually had to fly home and go to like a foot specialist, or foot specialist in California. I think it was an ankle specialist, and he did my surgery almost immediately. I had to get 5 screws and a plate put in there, and that was pretty gnarly. But I think what's even more gnarly about that is that I had to call Flint at Northeastern 2 years in a row and be like, hey, coach, like, I just broke the second leg. And he was like, what? So, I mean, that's obviously not how the combo went down, but it was kind of, it was just kind of like, it was kind of crazy that I literally had to call my college coach before going to Northeastern and tell him I broke my second leg, right? So that one took me 4 months to recover because it was a clean spiral. I got the hardware put in, and then I was able to get back into it 4 months later. So I feel good. I'm ready to go to Northeastern. Flint's like, I know your mindset. And at this point, I had been in the USA under 18 national pool.
Mhm.
So Flint knew me from there. My coaches knew me from there. They knew how I worked and stuff. And so I had the mindset to succeed and to overcome those injuries. It wasn't easy, but then I get to Northeastern freshman year and I actually get mono, like really, really bad. And so the school had to send me like on a leave for a little bit because I was so sick. My spleen and liver were so enlarged. And it took 3 tests until it came back positive with mono. So I kept playing on it, even though I was so sick. Like I'd walk into the training room and my team trainer would be like, Chelsey, you're like white as a ghost. Like, what's going on? And I was like, I don't know. Like, I feel a little funky, but like, I'm okay, you know? And it wasn't until, so my freshman year, I lived above our cafeteria and if we played BU or BC, you know, crosstown rivals, it was an easy pregame meal at the caf and then get on the bus or whatever. So we had pregame meal at the caf one morning and I couldn't get out of bed. I was just like, one of my teammates called me and was like, Chelsey, where are you? Like, you're late to pregame meal. And I'm like, I can't move. Like, I literally can't move. I don't know what's going on. So they came to get me out of bed and like, they literally had to hold my arms and drag me downstairs. And then, so going into our caf, there's like a little island and then there's a staircase that goes down into the cafeteria. And I was at the little island and I was just like, guys, I don't feel well. And I like just started falling back and like passed out. And at that point, that was before my 3rd test finally came back positive. But then my team doctor's like, you're done. Like,
Yeah.
we're going
Shut
to get you
down.
checked. Yeah. Like, we're going to get you checked out again and figure out what's going on. And so the 3rd test finally came back positive for mono. And it was just, I was probably playing on it for like 3 to 4 weeks. And so it was getting really bad. And then, so I was out the rest of that year. So my freshman year was a wash because of that.
That's not even
And
the
then-
worst of it, right? Like you now come back for was it your sophomore or junior year where you had to get the plates and screws out from your
Yeah, it was, yeah. So I go home and then I don't even get cleared from mono until like summertime. That's how bad my spleen and liver were. So I got cleared probably June or July actually. And then I start training again. So now I'm like playing catch up again to then get back to where I was, to then overcome where I was, right? So now I'm going into my sophomore year. I'm feeling good. I'm ready to go again. And then we start, you know, like obviously you were a coach, like coaches practice or captains practice before season starts. We were on the ice and just every time I skated, my ankle, the one that I got surgery on, just did not feel right. And it was the size of a balloon every practice, every time I skated. And my team doctor takes a look at it and he was like, Chelsey, what's going on? I'm like, I don't know. Like, legit, I have no idea. And so he's like, well, let's get that x-ray, MRI, see what's going on. So went in for an x-ray. It turns out the 5th screw that was supposed to be going right into my fibula was going down into my ankle bone and ligaments down there. So
it's hitting nerves.
He was like, exactly. And so it was just constantly swollen, constantly achy, and I was in so much pain. And so he was like, for your future, not even for right now, but just for your future, like, we got to get that out. So I was like, yeah, I mean, long-term speaking, I was in. So went back in for another surgery my sophomore year, and I lost that whole year.
So wait, so that's
so that's
years.
4 years. Yeah. So that was my 4th year in a row that I wasn't playing. So, I mean, I kind of I don't really remember what my mindset was at the time because I was like constantly like overcoming that, right? But I also know that it was some of the toughest years of my life, and I mentally had to dig deep and and really push myself, for not only for myself, for my coaches, for my friends, family, everyone who my biggest fans, right? And so the toughest adversity I faced was in those 4 years to this point, but honestly, I don't regret it, and I wouldn't change a thing, because it did really make me a stronger, better, more humble person in the end. You know what I mean? And I think everyone needs to experience like something like that in order to, I guess, change your mindset or perspective on life, because at the end of the day, like, I wouldn't be where I am today. I wouldn't be playing pro if I didn't break both my legs, if I wasn't out for 4 years in a row. So yeah, I mean, there were so many moments. I can even tell you, I probably, for like months straight, I was like, why am I playing? Like, what am I doing? I need to quit. I want to go back home to California. I miss my family. Like,
You
it
went
was
to
tough.
yeah.
I was away from home. I was in a tough spot. So, my mental health at the time was definitely, I got a puppy to like try to do something about my mental health, and he honestly like made the world of a difference. But at the same time, it's up to yourself to really push through and continue to overcome those obstacles. So yeah, some of the hardest 4 years of my life, but then so rewarding at the end of the day. And the reason I say that is because my junior year was technically my first year playing again after 4 years. And we did pregame film. We were playing RIT, and they were coming to us for 2 games. And so Flint just drew up some of their, like, we did video, so he drew up some of our power play, PK, whatever. And I got the opportunity to play on penalty kill, and I actually ended up scoring 2 shorthanded goals my first game back. So my family was in the stands, and that was probably the coolest feeling and experience up to this point, I would say, like, just because I really felt like all my hard work and
the comeback.
The comeback was real, and it was just like, it was worth it at that point. And so I wouldn't change a thing. And then I signed a pro contract in the C-Dub, got drafted in the N-Dub, but signed a contract in the C-Dub. And then now I'm playing for the PWHPA, and it's the coolest experience of my life. I'm so thankful to still be able to play hockey at 28 years old and living the dream
you probably
here.
Never thought would have happened when you were at Northeastern, right?
Right. Yeah, no. I mean, because at that point too, like, the CWHL existed when I was at Northeastern, but the N-Dub didn't. But at that point, it's like, kind of, how credible is women's professional hockey, right? That's like, nobody really knew about it at that point. And I had a ton of friends that played. Jessica Zumi, again, she ended up playing a couple years pro, and a ton of my other friends played pro in the C-Dub. So they were the ones that were like, hey, like, you've kind of missed your whole college career. Let's continue this at the professional level. So I feel like I'm almost like making up for the lost years that I missed in the college era. So
totally. Yeah,
that's amazing.
That's how I met Zumi. Zumi and I were teammates with the Boston Blades.
That's right.
So, yeah, that's how I met her. Yeah. I remember her talking about you too. So it's funny because obviously the California connection, right? So she was always talking about you, Lexi, and a few others and whatnot. But you've got to be a pretty proud alum of your Huskies right now. I mean, I know they lost the finals this year, but like, you were a part of that, like, turning the program around, right? And having them be national contenders.
Yeah, it was college hockey was such an experience in itself too. A lot of people, I think, underestimate the work that goes into it, but it's essentially a full-time job. I mean, you coached it, you lived it, and it is your job while you're also getting a college education. But I would say, like, playing with Kendall Coyne and playing with Florence Schelling and playing with, I mean, all my teammates attributed to me overcoming those obstacles. And I can't thank them and my coaches enough for pushing me every day. But playing with Kendall and Florence, 2 Olympians, and I think those were 2 of the most influential people in my life. And I think they're both players that make you better players, better people on and off the ice. And I mean, to this day, I still play against Coyner. Florence and I are really good friends. I still talk to Flo all the time. I'm going to plan a trip to Switzerland to see her, but like, it's crazy. Let's go. Yeah, let's go. But it's crazy to see everyone's path and where it takes them. Everyone goes down completely separate paths. But I mean, winning 2 Beanpots with Northeastern, like, we had a very solid team back then. but they are thriving right now, and it's incredible to see. I mean, they had such an amazing run, and watching that championship game, I was just like, I was so proud of them, honestly.
Well, I hated playing and coaching against you guys when I was at UConn, so I guess that means you guys are doing something right.
Listen, like, I mean, Huskies battling Huskies, right? Like, we always had a tough game against you guys.
Always.
Always.
It was a good battle. It was always a good battle. We knew that.
It was always a good battle. Always. Battle of the Huskies. It was like, I mean, it was never an easy game on both ends. Like, I thought both teams just grinded the whole game.
Totally. Totally. And I think I like having the coaching experience now. I'm like, I think I'd be more stressed, and I was like it's weird to say, I guess more emotionally tired after coaching a game like that than playing. Like, because playing, you're out there, you can do it, but when you're coaching, it's like, hopefully they execute on everything we've taught them, and it was just such a different experience. But I want to jump to the PWHPA and like what you guys are doing. You're obviously rocking the sweater there. I love it.
Yeah.
There it is.
Here we go.
What has it been like for you to be a part of that organization, that association?
It's been super cool, and something that I'm so proud to be a part of. We've gained so much momentum and traction just based off of fighting for equality. And honestly, like, what better time than now to fight for what we deserve? I mean, I'm so fortunate myself to be playing with and against some of the best players in the world, right? But to be fighting for bigger than myself is something that I'm very passionate about, and it's why I'm still playing. I mean, I obviously missed a ton of my college career, but at 28 years old, like, I could be home in California. I could be doing so many other things, but I genuinely enjoy fighting for what we deserve, and that is for a sustainable league. So it's been incredible. Obviously, like I said, playing with and against the best players in the world, but also promoting what we're fighting for and getting the traction and the attention that we deserve has been just experiences of a lifetime, and experiences that I'll never forget, honestly.
So that's like, I think of, your games in New York City, and you had Billie Jean King there. Like, talk about getting traction. You've got Secret as a sponsor, and like all of these amazing companies have backed you guys. Like, walk me through what a game day is like, whether it be New Jersey, New York City, Chicago, during a pandemic. Like,
crazy.
Let's go back to you're in Boston. Like,
crazy.
The process of, hey, we're gonna fly you to New York City, Chicago, whatever. Like, give it to me. I want to hear it.
Yeah, it's wild, right? Like, I mean, so again, it's also crazy to think that we are playing in a pandemic, considering like how shut down you guys are. I mean, Canada's been so shut down, but on the American side, so we've actually been practicing in New Hampshire, and it's a little bit more open, I would say. We don't have to wear masks on the ice, it's super, super relieving, because I actually practiced once with a mask, and it was so difficult, let me tell you. But props to all the college teams and everyone else who has to play with masks. It's wild. But we've been practicing in New Hampshire, and we have to fill out like a wellness survey, and then we scan the barcode we get on our phone to get into the facility, to make sure you're not feeling any symptoms, nothing. We can get into the locker room, I think it's like 15 minutes before, get dressed, practice, back to the locker room, no showering. So showers are closed off. So the restrictions are pretty nuts, but I mean, we're all following them. Like, we have to, obviously. So that's an experience. But as far as playing in some of those NHL arenas, we are following NHL protocol, which is so cool. I mean, sometimes you think like, what am I living in? It's like a dream for me. Obviously, this is the biggest stage that I've ever played on. But so basically how it works is we quarantine for a week up till like we are ready to depart for our city. So New York or Chicago. We were supposed to go to St. Louis last weekend, but it got postponed because of COVID concerns. But we can chat about that in a bit. So quarantine for a week up until departure. If we were to play, say we were to play Saturday, Sunday, we have to get tested Tuesday, come back negative in order to even go on the trip, go on the bus, go on the flight. Has to be a negative test on Tuesday. We hop on the bus, hop on the flight, and then when we get there, we test again. So that one has to be negative. We check into the hotel, we go straight to our rooms. We all have individual rooms, and we cannot leave our rooms in the morning, we have to fill out a wellness survey. We cannot leave our room until we fill the wellness survey out and you're feeling no symptoms, no nothing. And then you have time slots to go pick up like food, right? Breakfast, lunch, dinner, pregame meal. You go pick up your meal on the floor that reserves like your conference room technically. So you go pick up your meal at your time slot and you go right back up to your room. So it's like a lot of, I mean, it's a lot of time alone. You can't hang out with your teammates. You can't hang out with anyone. You don't have roommates or nothing. So that was an adjustment. But at the end of the day, it's like, this is pro hockey. And we finally felt like pros. And that was the coolest part, right? Like we walk into MSG and locker room is set and our equipment's all in there. You know, it felt pro at the end of the day. And that's something that I certainly wasn't used to. And I think a lot of my teammates weren't used to it as well, but it was a very, very cool experience and it's only going to continue from here. So I'm super excited to be a part of it.
That is unreal. And I can't help but feel for all of the players in Canada of the PWHPA that can't play, right? Like, have you had any conversations with them? How are they feeling? Obviously they have to follow government rules, regulations. So it is what it is, but it's got to be frustrating for them to like, they're obviously excited and happy for you guys, but they're also probably a little frustrated they can't get out there and do the same thing.
Yeah, I have a ton of friends on the Calgary team, Toronto team. And so I've been in touch with a few of them and they're not even practicing right now, which is kind of wild. But again, it's government restrictions and they're following it. So they have to. But hopefully the restrictions lighten up a little bit because I know we're trying to schedule some showcases on the Canadian side as well. And I know a ton of the NHL teams have stepped in and the Rangers were obviously the first team to step up to the plate, followed by the Blackhawks. The Maple Leafs have stepped up. The Flames are involved. So we have so many NHL teams that are starting to step up to the plate and support us. And I think that's the first step in the right direction. So we're doing everything we can during a pandemic. That's all.
I was going to say, yeah, we just need COVID to go away and then there'll be more of these showcases and more amazing hockey for everybody to watch and follow, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So when you got the test, was it the one up the nose or what is it for you guys?
All right. So I do not like the throat one at all, but so the Tuesday COVID test is the throat swab. And that one's like, just like not fun at all. But then when we get to the NHL arenas or wherever we're playing, it's the nose swab and that one's not that bad, but
really,
I've gotten a couple brain pokes for sure, but at this point it's kind of just like it's the name of the game. You got to do it right in order to play. So
totally. Well, I actually
my eyes water a little bit, but that's okay. It's worth it.
You're like, but I get to play, so it's okay.
Exactly.
I had to get my almost 5-year-old twins tested the other day because they had fevers, right? Any other year I'd be like, they have a fever. You know, I'll wait 24 hours, see how they are. But I was like, it's COVID. And now I'm kind of like freaking out. So I went and got them tested and they did the nose swab. And both my son and daughter, like, I didn't like that. They said it was going to tickle. It didn't tickle. And I was like, oh, thankfully it came back negative. It was literally just a 24-hour bug. But I'm like, I haven't had to have it done yet. So I've only seen my kids do it. But I'm like, oh, that does not look pleasant. So kudos to you guys for doing that.
Yeah, it's an adjustment, but it's worth it. And hey, listen, like, I love that you have twins, boy and girl too, because obviously I'm a twin and my twin brother means the world to me. So I love that, but that's a side conversation.
Oh, I love it. I've got a twin sister too. So
I know
having twins is karma coming full circle.
It is. Twins, I feel like twins typically tend to attract to each other and they find each other.
Yeah. Well, I know you and your brother are tight, and that's what I hope my Justin and Julia are going to be like. They already are.
I know.
Swear they have their own language. I'm like, guys, what are you doing?
Oh, I mean, I'm sure you feel the same with your sister though. Like, it really is like, you just have a unique connection.
Yeah. No, it was actually weird that you said that because 2 nights ago, she texted me saying, how was the rest of your day? And I was literally calling her at the same time being like, how was the rest of your day? And she's like, did you get my text? I was like, no, why? She's like, I literally just asked you that. And I was like, that twin telepathy.
It is. It's so real.
I was like,
it's so real. It's so real.
Yeah.
I used to play, like I said, I used to play with the boys and my twin and I were always, our coaches always put us on the same line. which was so fun, so cool. But I swear it helped us. Like, we just had this natural connection. He was typically my center, but like we just always found each other. It was crazy.
I love that. It's
Yeah.
a unique connection for sure. But I just can't help but thinking back to like those 4 years you had of overcoming struggles and challenges. Like that's a lot. Like I stopped playing I had like this massive surgery on my wrist and everything else. And I'm like, is this worth it anymore? Like, I want to get into coaching more, like this, that, and the other. Like I had all these other reasons, but it wasn't 4 years of having to overcome hurdle after hurdle after hurdle. Was that the biggest hurdle you've encountered throughout your whole career / life? Or is there something else? How did you get through it?
Yeah. So like I said earlier, that was the biggest, I would say, those were the biggest obstacles I had encountered up to the college point of my life, probably. But as a young professional now, out of school, I got my master's done in 2018, and obviously we all work full-time jobs in addition to playing pro. So there's still always the balance that, I mean, you had to balance college athletics with college work, and now we're adults working, real world, balancing that as well as hockey. So there's always a balance. But this pandemic is crazy. Sometimes I still can't believe we're living through this pandemic in history, and it's hit so many people so hard and in so many different ways. And I've been in commercial real estate for the past few years now, and honestly, it hit me really hard. And it's something that I'm happy to talk about, just because I think we're all humans. We're entitled to feel, and I'm the type of person to kind of just brush my struggles under the rug until they really slap me in the face, right? And it's just, I lost a friend to COVID. One of my mentors at Northeastern, when I was so injured and kind of mentally drained at that point in my life, he was like right by my side, and he was a Northeastern police officer, and he was right by my side every game in the stands. We watched together in the stands, and he, got me through the couple years at Northeastern when I was out. And I think losing him to COVID was a wake-up call. Like, you just never know what the next day brings, right? Like, he was a healthy officer that just started feeling symptoms, and then ended up going to the hospital and losing his life. And I think that hit me really, really hard, in addition to just working in commercial real estate in a pandemic is challenging. And I know a lot of people have challenging jobs or have lost their jobs and whatnot, but mentally, I think there was so much going on at that point, and I actually had to ask for a leave of absence for a month. And it was just to kind of get my mindset restarted and my mindset back on track. And that was a struggle, like, recently. So yeah, I mean, I certainly encounter different struggles throughout, like, different chapters of my life, and this one was just the mental component of the pandemic. And I think mental health is just so important at the end of the day, and I realized that. And so I put myself before my job and hockey and whatnot, because I needed to. And yeah, it's crazy, but I think, like, if you can realize that, it's something that you shouldn't be, like, shamed of or feel shamed of. And I think it's something that's important to realize, so that you can better yourself in the long run and be okay.
Totally. Thank you for sharing that and being open, because I like you said, I think it's something that a lot of people don't talk about. And when you went through those 4 years of physical injury that then resulted in that mental state being altered and shifted, and having to dig like, you had both the physical and the mental, and now it's the pandemic, which I think anybody listening to this can relate to, in the sense of they're struggling with something, whether you're a single parent, your parents of 3, 4 kids, 1 kid, you lost your job, you lost your youth hockey season, your college season. You can list anything at this point, right?
Anything. Yeah.
And that's a whole new adversity that a lot of people maybe haven't encountered yet. Right. And
Right.
Even like you, who's encountered all these struggles, you still are struggling. And as am I. Like, I'm no exception to this. I have been struggling a lot emotionally. Single parent, twins, running a business, doing that. Like, I can list everything off, but at the end of the day, it's my experience, it's your experience, and it's going to be different from somebody else. And I think if we can just be compassionate and empathetic to people when they vent, and not say, well, my situation's worse. Well, no, it's not. It's perspective. It's what you're going through. Like, maybe if they were in your shoes, it would be a lot harder, but they don't know that. So don't judge. Like, just meet them with empathy, with love, with compassion, and let's raise everybody up and try and help and support, because at the end of the day, like, we're all going through this together. It's really hard. And I think more conversations like this need to happen. I'm not okay, and I reached out for help. You're not okay. You reached out for help. And I think that needs to continue to be the conversation of, even though this is what I teach in my course, the 8-week course to help, high school age females get to college, and, empowering and building these different beliefs and everything, but it's okay to not be okay.
And
Right.
to acknowledge that and to address it, that's the first step, right? And I mean, listen, like, I'm still young. I'm only 28, and I have experienced a lot. I really have. But it's something that, like I said, I wouldn't change for the world, because it's taught me so many different lessons along the way, but it's also taught me how to change my mindset. And I think, like, when I was president of SAAC in Northeastern, I
Talk to me about this.
Yeah. So this all comes full circle, but I pitched the idea of, we did a lot of community service, obviously in the community around the local Boston area, but I just had this idea to kind of take it globally and out of the Boston area. So I pitched this idea to our alumni board. I reached out to this organization that goes to Kenya every year, and I pitched this to our alumni board, and they were like supporting it fully. We raised enough money to send myself and my vice president to Kenya for 2 weeks, to deliver school supplies, sports equipment. We went to 6 different schools across 3 different regions in Kenya, and we got them all uniforms, shoes, delivered school supplies, sports equipment. We took a little guy to the eye doctor because he had some eye condition, so we got him prescription glasses. We kind of just learned about their stories, and we tried to help them as much as we could, and it was the best experience of my life. But seeing that firsthand changed my perspective on life, and I cried every day there. I was like, I am so lucky to be in the shoes that I'm in today, and how I grew up, and the opportunities that I've been blessed with in America. And I think seeing that firsthand, those 2 weeks changed my life altogether and for the better. And it made me really realize, like, hey, if I'm having a shitty day or a tough day, somebody else probably is having a worse day. And this is just such a small, minute problem, But it comes back to, like, everyone has a story, and everyone's story deserves to be told and listened to without judgment, because we're all humans, we're allowed to feel. But if you can change your mindset and perspective and acknowledge, like, hey, I am struggling, I'm going to get help, it's okay. You know what I mean? It's all perspective and mindset. And that's kind of what my trip to Kenya taught me. And I think that's really helped me adjust my overall perspective on life when I am struggling. I'm like, it's okay to feel, I know I'm struggling, but I'm going to get through this. And I know I'm going to get through it. I don't know what it looks like, but I'm going to learn myself, right? Like, taking the month off, the leave from work for a month, I didn't know what, like, it looked like, but I knew maybe I needed to change something in my life to make my mental health back up to where it was, So it's all about mindset, it's all about perspective. And I think more people need to be, like you said, okay with acknowledging that we're all humans, we all struggle. Everyone has a story.
Yep.
Everyone's story deserves to be told and listened to. So we're all here to talk to each other. Like, listen, like, you're my friend, I'm your friend. I'm here to listen to you and chat about it. So I think more people need to be, like you said, empathetic to that, especially during a pandemic and hard times like this.
That's huge. And the more people I talk to through this podcast or shows or interview or whatever it may be, I'm like, there's a lot of really good people out there, but you have to be willing to put yourself out there.
You gotta be vulnerable. Gotta be.
Hardest and scariest thing to do. But if you can do that and just be honest and open, some are going to judge, but the ones that are meant to be in your life won't, and they're going to love and support you. And that's the biggest thing. And I think that's also what hockey is. Like, you have this team, right, of people, you're all on the same page. You may not be best friends, but they're all going to respect you and love you and, try and achieve that same goal. right? And I guess that kind of gets to the next question I have for you is like, what has been one of the biggest lessons the game of hockey has taught you?
Um, Honestly, at the end of the day, I think it is overcoming those obstacles. And like, I think it is, you're obviously playing the sport that you love and the sport that you're good at, but like, it's not going to be perfect. Like, nobody's story is perfect. And I think overcoming those obstacles has been the biggest lesson of my life. Like, I had goals of being on the Olympic team and playing USA hockey, and unfortunately struggles came my way that wasn't in my plan. I did not plan for that, you know, but life does have a weird way of working out if you see it that way. And I really think like breaking both my legs and then mono and then getting surgery again, I think it's all part of the plan to obviously humble me out and change my perspective on life and learn how to overcome those obstacles that come your way unexpectedly. So that alone is the best, I would say, the most important thing that hockey has taught me. But we're also fighting for equality. So I think like being part of something bigger than yourself is such a cool thing and feeling. And that's another very important life lesson that I'm learning, is to be bigger than myself and to take a chance and fight for something that you know you deserve. And that's what we're doing as a whole in the PWHPA. And I think it's an incredible life lesson. Like, I think we're so close to succeeding, but you know, it takes hard work from everyone. Everyone has to be on the same page, and we are. And I think it's a really cool journey to be a part of, for sure.
So then where do you see women's hockey in the next, like, let's say 3 to 5 years? You got a crystal ball in your hand. Where do you see it? Let's go.
I see a professional women's hockey league starting. And I say that because like I think we've already come so far by even having our games broadcasted on major platforms and getting the support from NHL teams and getting support from people that are learning about women's hockey that didn't know some of these I guess disparities existed, right? Like, we don't have a facility to play out of. We don't have a locker room. We don't get our own equipment. We have to buy our own equipment. We get crazy practice times. Like, there are so many things that a lot of people have no idea exist about women's professional hockey. So I do see a league starting, and it's really exciting that to be a foundation and a building block to that league. And I think like, I hope everyone, whether that's like the NW or PW or whoever, I want everyone to come together for the sport of women's hockey. Yeah. I have no bad blood with the NW. I think like I have a ton of best friends playing in the NW, and the PW is just where my path led me, right? And I think I really want to see everyone come together in the next 3 to 5 years and play in a professional setting, a professional city, professional team. And I think it's going to happen. I'm really optimistic, but like I said, it comes with the hard work from all of us fighting for this equality.
Yep, absolutely. And you sound like me, where you're almost obnoxiously optimistic, where it's like, it's going to happen. But I'm like, but that's the mindset you need to have. Like, I truly believe it's going to happen.
Yeah.
It's like, there's no doubt, like the NHL didn't happen overnight either. Like, it is what it is. And I had one of my friend's dads growing up, like he played in the NHL, but he was also a farmer, and he's now a farmer and a firefighter because he wasn't getting paid the money that they do now to live off of. Right. So it's,
well, the WNBA too, same thing. Like it didn't happen overnight, but the WNBA draft just happened, and it was a huge event. And like you said, yeah, we might be so optimistic, but I'm very optimistic that we are building this for the future of women's hockey, and young girls are going to be able to envision a place to play in the future. And I think that's the coolest thing at the end of the day, right? Like,
well, it gets back to what
insane.
You know, it's you said it's you say being a part of something that's bigger than yourself, right? So that's you putting the ego aside. It's all of you players putting your egos aside and doing something that you may not reap the benefits of, but future generations will.
Yeah.
That's what I
mean. So the first year of the PWHPA last year, the first Secret Dream Cup tour, we had our first event in New Hampshire. I think the second event was in Toronto. And for the Toronto event, was really cool a young fan had reached out to our team, or I guess a young fan had reached out to the PWHPA and told them that they were struggling with a broken leg, an injury, and the PW actually kind of sent that to all the different regions and asked them to have players reach back out and like kind of give them words of advice and how to overcome these injuries. And I was like, this hit home for me.
That's
Obviously,
you.
yeah, I was like, I literally lived through 2 broken legs. So I actually reached out to this young female hockey player, and I was just like, hey, like, if there's anyone that understands where you're coming from, it's me. And I want to let you know, like, everything's going to work out. Keep pushing. Like, don't let this set you back. And just kind of like gave her advice from somebody that's lived through it.
Love it.
And we ended up building this special connection. And this is all via Instagram, by the way. Like,
Totally.
crazy social media. Like, if you use social media right, it's amazing, right? But so her and I developed this unique connection, and she ends up reaching out to me and being like, hey, my mom and I are coming to the Toronto showcase. We're going to be supporting Team Coin, which is the team that I was on. And I'd love to meet you after a game. And I was like, let's do it. So I ended up actually walking off the ice after the buzzer, and her and her mom were standing right there. And it was just like back to full circle. It was just like, we're doing this for the sake of women's hockey for the future, right? And I think that's, again, what confirmed that this is all worth it. To see somebody like myself impact a young player like her and be able to meet them in person and give her a visual representation that professional hockey exists and she can dream about playing and dream about overcoming these injuries. It's just like full circle. Like, this is so worth it. It's going to be worth it in the end. And this is kind of what we're fighting for. So it was really cool.
I love that. I love that story. I love the mission of the PWHPA. I love everything that you guys are doing. You just brought up that you were on Team Coin. So I have to ask, not to swayed you toward that answer, but it just made me think. I remember playing against her in like pickup hockey. Like I was done in college, and I was like, this kid is you're too fast. I'm older than you are. I can't even keep up. Like, what am I doing out here? For you, who is the hardest player that you've ever competed against, either in practice or a game? Like somebody that's just, you're like, I don't know what to do with you.
That's a good question. So playing at Northeastern with Kendall, like I said, was unbelievable because she made you better. She did. She's one of those players, and the fastest player I've ever played with by far. But I think playing against Poulin, like when I was in the CW, and I know she's obviously in the PW too, but we haven't played the Canadian teams yet. Yeah. But she's just an overall unbelievable player. I mean, she's obviously a forward, but her defensive game, she's so tough. She's like, by far I think the best player that I've ever had the opportunity to play against.
Yeah. And then on the flip side, who is your favorite like line mate, teammate to play with, and why?
Wow.
You can go back to like Timbits, or that's Canadian. Hold on.
I know.
What is that? Tyke? Is it Tyke in the US?
Yeah. It's like, what is it? It's like Might, Squirts.
Yeah.
Pee-wees. Yeah.
There's so many over the years.
Wow.
You can pick different eras too if you want. High school versus college versus pro. Like, I'm totally putting you on the spot here.
Yeah, no, it's a good question. I think like I'm a grinder, right? I work my ass off. I'm fast, I'm quick, but I love to dish the puck to my teammates. And I would say every one of my teammates along the way has made me better in some aspect. But I think playing with Amanda Pelkey at Naha, like her and I were line mates for a bit, and she's actually one of my good friends now to this day, but she's such a solid player, and like same thing, like she's just so smooth, so natural. She makes you better. But I think she was one of the best line mates probably that I was fortunate enough to play with. We worked really well together, so. And it's tough to play against her too. I played against her when I was at Northeastern. She was at UVM, and
I hated coaching against her at UVM. They had this one set play where they would just launch her off a face-off, and I'm like, we knew
And
it
she's
was coming,
gone. She's gone.
but we knew it was coming. Like we went over it in video every like,
Yeah.
and I'm like, we know it's happening, but she just boom. Yeah. She just take
Yeah.
off. Yeah. No,
Take off.
good. She's good.
Yeah.
Good
But
answer.
like I said, everyone like makes you better in some way. Like you learn from your teammates every day, you know, something.
Yep.
So.
No, for sure. Before we wrap up here, I got to ask, it's my kind of go-to question here. If you could go back to when you were a little girl and tell yourself one thing, what would it be?
Wow. That's a standard cliche question, but it's a good one. It makes you think.
With perspective and age, yeah.
Right. Yeah. No. Just, you know, embrace the challenges, embrace the adversity that comes your way, but more importantly, have fun with it, right? Like, don't take anything too serious. Life is a game of mistakes in every aspect of life, right? Like athletics, work life, everything. You live and learn. You really do live and learn. And I think, for me, I was always so serious about making the USA team, making this, making that. And I set a lot of my high school friends aside. I didn't go to socials. I didn't go to functions because I had hockey. The classic, I had hockey excuse.
Totally.
You know what I mean? And it was just like, I don't regret it because I'm here where I am and I don't regret what I do. But I will say, like, sometimes maybe looking back, it would have been beneficial to just ride the wave more, have fun at the same time, you know, put your hours in, like have your certain time blocks where you put your hours in, work in the gym, eating right, on the ice, go have fun with friends, you know. And I think having fun with it and embracing the challenges, because that's how you're going to learn. Like you learn from adversity, you learn from your mistakes, from any obstacle that comes your way. When it stops becoming fun, I think that's when, you know, right? Like when I was out for 4 years, I was not having fun and I knew something needed to change. And luckily I was able to change my mindset, and it made it so worth it scoring those 2 shorthanded goals. But I think don't plan, like just go with it. I'm not much of a planner, and I couldn't imagine.
Shocking, coming from California.
Yeah, I ride in the wave always. I would never sit here and tell you I expected to be playing pro hockey or inducted into the Jewish Hall of Fame at 28. And like, so it's just, you never know what's going to come your way. So take it as it comes and have fun with it and then really embrace it. So that's kind of what I would say to younger Chelsey or younger girls playing, or anyone playing the game that wants to pursue something greater than.
Totally. And I think that's probably a similar answer you would have given to that little girl up in Toronto there, right?
Oh, I did. I'm pretty sure like one of my responses was like embrace this. It's going to suck hearing this from my mouth, but embrace it because it will make you better in the long run. You don't know how yet, but you'll look back and be like, thank you. Like, thanks for like breaking my leg, you know, like,
which sounds so messed up.
Yeah, it sounds so bad, but it's just coming from somebody that's literally lived through it. And I look back and I'm like, yeah, I wouldn't change a thing, would not change one thing.
It's embracing the suck and trusting the process.
Exactly.
Have to know that it's going to get better, that everything is temporary and it's just a season. It's not going to last forever.
Absolutely.
Chelsey, you are a gem. I've enjoyed this conversation so much. I feel like we're going to have to do it again at some point.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. I appreciate you. We'll be following you. Actually, how do people find you and the PWHPA? Like what can we do?
All social media outlets. I'm on Twitter, Instagram. Connect with me on Facebook. You connect with me anywhere. I am happy to respond to anyone. I will be willing to chat with anyone. So yeah, follow me Twitter, Instagram, Chelley_Bean24. PWHPA is on all social media outlets as well. We have a ton of information that gets blasted. So follow along for the journey and be a part of this change. Beauty.
We will link all that stuff in the text below when we put this out.
Yeah.
On the website, on social and everything else. We'll tag you guys in it. And I appreciate you again, like I said, your time, your patience, and you being willing to do this with us. So Everyone listening, thank you for joining. Hope you enjoyed it. Until next time, stay safe, stay healthy, and keep chasing your dreams.